today is November the 23rd, 2021, Tuesday, I believe. And today I want to talk about something that might be a little bit controversial, might be a little bit prickly. But nevertheless, if you do listen to this, try to keep an open mind and to listen start to finish, maybe on 1.5 speed or something, because I do tend to talk slowly. So this was a question that was asked to me by my middle son, who is, how old is he? He's 12? He's 12 now, I think. Yeah, anyways, so I guess they were learning stuff in, geopolitics and all that. And he asked me, so Mom, do you think Taiwan is part of China? Or is Taiwan its own country? And that was, that was his very simple question. And I think he was partly trying to be cheeky. I don't know, maybe it was a legit question, but he was kind of trying to be cheeky to see whether I would be accurate or controversial or what, So, but I tried to give him an explanation that I thought was very thorough. Pretty sure it sounded like a lecture. I think his grandmother was pretty surprised because my mom was sitting right there and listening to this as well. And so anyways, I decided, you know what, maybe I will also record it, because that way it's sort of, because these recordings are sort of serving as like a personal diary in a way for me. So what I said to him was this. I said it's complicated and a very loaded question. And why is that? Well, I grew up in India. For the first 23 years of my life, I lived in India. I did my undergrad there. I went and, I started to do my MBA there. Then I got married. I had an arranged marriage and I moved here to the United States. Then after a break of about 1 or 2 years, I finished my MBA here at a Jesuit university. I got my MBA in finance, and now, 16 years after finishing my MBA, I'm back in school getting my doctoral. And why does that matter? It matters because my view is one that is, 23 years in India and then 21 years in America. And I am an US citizen, but I'm also Indian. And so I hold both views. So I said, sure. I'm one of those people who actually obeys crosswalks. So anyways, so back to this topic. So as an Indian, I understand how I felt, or how Indians felt, when the British, gave us our freedom under the condition that Pakistan would be a separate country. And I don't know if Sri Lanka was part of the deal or not, but there were so many stipulations in that it was sickening, and it really angered me. Obviously, it still angers me sometimes, because it caused a lot of chaos in India. It caused a lot of violence in India. It was the ultimate divide and rule kick in the pants that the Brits could have given the Indians when they left. And and I like British people. I don't have anything against British people. I have a lot of friends who are British, and I like them. They're very nice people. But the issue is with the politics and the government, and when people get, when they play this divide and rule kind of, well, no, actually it is divide and control type of politics. It's very annoying, to say the least. And then I also hold this view as an American, because here's the thing. So I started by telling my son, well, here's the thing. So if you think like an American, this is why America is involved in like the whole Taiwan business. Okay, I mean, there's one more sort of silicon resource related reason too, but on the very official standpoint, there's two big reasons why America gives a shit about Taiwan. So number one, America is supposed to be the world reserve currency. Now, what does that mean to be a world reserve currency? It's almost like we have signed up to serve as an anchor, currency-wise, for the world. If anywhere, the currency is falling apart, the anchor is the dollar. So what does that mean? That means the dollar has to have confidence. The dollar has to be a strong currency. Well, but here's the catch with that. And this, by the way, is an economic theory by a guy named Triffin's dilemma is what it's called. If you have a strong currency, you are not competitive in your exports and your goods. You're not competitive. You need to have a weaker currency to make your goods competitive on an international market. So what does that mean? Now, well, so how many things you see in the international market that's made in America? Not much. And if it is, it may be expensive. So that's kind of our hang up. And then Nixon went off and, he made the deal with the Saudis in 1970s after he decoupled gold and the dollar. So the dollar is the anchor of the world and gold was the anchor of the dollar, right? A gold standard, which we had from 1933 to 1971, I think. And when he broke that link, now our anchor was gone, and so he had to come up with some anchor. And trust me, I'm not sympathetic towards Nixon, but in his defense, what he did in the 70s to give us some sort of anchor is he made a deal with the Saudis that said basically, well, fine, this is going green or not? Okay, whatever, I'm going to go. He said, if we will offer you protection from the uncertainty in your environment, whatever, through our military, and you will only price your oil in dollars. So basically the whole world needs dollars in order to buy their oil, buy their energy, basically, and everybody needs energy, therefore everybody needs the dollar. So now that is coming apart at the seams, because of so Russia basically has offered has made a deal. They signed this, I think, in August or September of 2021, that they will offer protection to the Saudis, which it undermines the dollar. Not only that, back in 2014, Obama had made some deal with Iran that basically kind of messed with that, with the Nixon deal also. So that has been kind of, wonky lately. And many other countries have been making their own deals in between, with each other and frankly, there's a part of me that I think that's fine. I think there is a part of me that feels like it is time for a more multipolar sort of world, because this being the world reserve currency is not only an exorbitant privilege that that makes Americans generally act and feel very entitled to the point where most Americans don't even know where other countries are on the map. It's like, come on, like, what do you think? You know, you should know more about the world. Everybody knows about America, and the Americans don't take the time to know anything about the rest of the world. I don't like that. But anyways, I was actually presenting the debate from the American side, so I will stick with I will stick with my side of the debate for now. Okay, so I said, so from an American standpoint, we are the world reserve currency. We are sort of supposed to be the, you know, not the watchmen, but the watchmen of the world, the peacekeepers of the world, because that's why people are using our currency. Like, there's, you know, there has to be, if there's some value that America is offering the world, it's in this form of like protection, whatever. So that's one thing from a reserve currency standpoint. From a diplomatic standpoint, I can understand that, you know, the American view is, well, hey, China, you said that, you know, when the Brits left, basically they made this deal about like Hong Kong, you know, Hong Kong remaining, like, in some ways I don't know exactly what the specifics are with both Hong Kong and Taiwan, but there is some deal where these two are separate and kind of westernized and have different arrangements, because, you know, we don't want to like mess around in the whole of China. So you can have all of that, and, you know, and Mao can do whatever, or that time Mao can do whatever the hell he wants, destroy the place and, you know, have at it, but these two will be like, you know, we can still do our business and things. All right. So, and then China agreed to that deal. So at one level, it's like, well, you agreed to the deal, you have to honor the deal. Because if you can't honor that deal from an international standpoint, it's an international agreement, basically. So if you cannot abide by one international agreement, how can we be sure that you will abide by other international agreements? Okay, I get that. I understand that from that standpoint. So that's the American standpoint, okay? And then I told my son, I'm like, but all right. But then there's the Indian in me. And the Indian in me understands how China feels. Because it's like, well, you know, we were one country. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh even, right? We were all Bharat. And they split us up. And they left. How the fuck dare they? How dare they? How dare they mess around in our country, in my country? Sorry, there's a guy jaywalking with a bike. How dare they still poke their fingers in our business after they've given us our independence? What is our independence if we are still fighting with each other, if still fighting with our neighbors like that, you know? Like for Kashmir, for example, like, you know, there's still a lot of like fights that happen between Pakistan and India, though, you know, though now like China has come like the monkey that, like, you know, takes one peanut from everybody and is like dividing up Kashmir like more into their side. Anyways, but from a person to person standpoint, Pakistanis and Indians, like Sindhis also, because the Sindh Valley, those guys came to Bombay, my home city, as refugees, because they were like, you know, not here, not there, because the Sindh Valley was like split so badly. And I went to a Sindhi college. I went to Jai Hind College in Bombay, and that's a Sindhi college. And the only reason I went to Sindhi college is because this is hilarious. So I wanted to actually do science and go to medical school. And then oh shit, I should have. Excuse me, your cart thing has come apart. Oh God help us. Okay, that guy's going to discover when his cards all swing backwards. I'm just going to make sure it doesn't reverse into me. Okay. So, I went to a Sindhi college because I wanted to go study science, go to medical school, and I could have very easily gotten into one of these. It was a Jesuit college, but because I couldn't get into the top school. And this was like, reasonably good. Well, I guess it was the third ranking school. And I did not want to go to this other one, which was a Jesuit place, because I'm Catholic. And in the Jesuit place, you can go to that college regardless of what your percentage, your percentage and your ranking at that board exam was. And I'm very particular about being selected on merit and not because I belong to a certain religious group or whatever. So I would not go to a Jesuit college that does not look at my percentage score and like just neglects that. So I went on merit to the place I could get into, and I got into the third best place, which was this college, James College for Science. Anyways, but I ended up switching and graduated in economics. That's a different story altogether. Nevertheless, back on track here, the Sindhi community came to Bombay as refugees. They don't just come to Bombay. They are also in Spain, in the Netherlands. They're diamond merchants. They are everywhere, and they're such an enterprising bunch. Sindhi people. They're very, very. But they went off as refugees. And why? Because of this fucked up British deal. And, they displaced a bunch of Indians. Because, you know what? We're all Indians. I mean, I know, okay, Pakistanis may say, well, no, well, Pakistan. But we're all, from Hindustan. We're all Hindustani, basically. Or Bharatiya, right? We're all, yeah. And clearly I get quite emotional thinking even about this. So, the only reason that the Indians didn't or haven't gone, haven't done what Xi Jinping is saying, and like, hey, you know what? How about we combine everything back again? Is because Indians are like, you know what? We're a pretty chill bunch. Basically, we Indians are like, meh, well, it's fine. We're not going to like fight unnecessarily. We're just going to move on. We're good. We just move on. Because bottom line is, even though, and I'll say this, in the Goan community, because my husband is Goan, so I'm, I guess, Goan by marriage. I'm not really. I'm East Indian. I'm not Goan, but that's a whole different. If you want to know more about the difference between Goans and East Indians, I have a video that's called "I'm Not a Silver Stacker, But," which talks more about sort of family history, culture, etc. Anyways. So, but I know that there are Pakistani Goans, and there are, Goan Goans, and then there are Delhiite Goans. Goans are everywhere, and Goans are basically the people that came sort of from the Portuguese side of all the people that colonized India. But here, even when we meet, whether we meet Pakistani Goans or whatever, London Goans, any Goans, they're like, oh, it doesn't even matter with Goans, like it just doesn't matter. And so that nationality thing is quite different. It's more of being a tribe. And so as an Indian, I can understand how Chinese feel. But on the other hand, I'll also say this. We could also do that, right? And say like, let's all join together. But we don't. We as Indians have been abiding with all our international treaties. The second thing, and I think this is where the cultural thing comes in. So when when India got split up like this, there was no Western influence that kind of hung out in Pakistan or hung out in India or hung out in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka or anywhere. Like, Nobody hung out there to try and make it like a hub of semiconductors like Taiwan, or like a hub of like trade and business or whatever like Hong Kong. No, they just left. And in that sense, India did not have those Western sort of influences further to, or even, development influences. Because the thing is, the Western influence does bring in quite a bit of like more freedom, more individuality, a little bit less reliance on like the collective thinking. And I must say, I mean, in a way, India is not as collectivist as China is. It's far more of that in China, but in India, it's much more. You do follow the rules of society. You do, remain within the boundaries of your your scope of authority, so to speak. And there are ways of being and behaving and all that, but it is still a far more tolerant culture of minor differences here and there. And the fact that there was not this extreme thing of like Westerners are a little bit too individualistic, and the Chinese side is a little bit too conform, like you will conform or you will die, kind of thing. And that does not exist in India. And because there was no one state or place that was overly westernized, probably Bombay, where I grew up, is maybe the most. But even in Bombay, like, we're not, there are still social rules that you follow. So I think because of that, we've not had this, even though we are all different countries now, we don't have this like scary this thing, we don't have this fear of like, oh, America, please protect us from getting overly Indianized. We're like, no, you know what, America, just stay there, do your damn thing, like don't get into, like, just don't start with us, okay? You want to do business with us, we'll gladly do business with you, but like stay the fuck out of our country on other matters. That bit's a bit gone wonky with the whole these like immunization programs. And if you want to know more about that, there are some documentaries that you could watch. Yeah. Anyways, but even on that, like, we do protect. Like if something happens where a bunch of like a few years back when like a bunch of kids got paralyzed because one of those kind of immunization experiments went wrong, we threw that bunch right out, and nobody stopped us from, the doctors were not, their voices were not suppressed the way it's being here, which is disgraceful, I think. Anyways, so I told my son, so this is how I feel about the, is Taiwan a separate country, or is it part of China or not? And yeah, and then my son was like, oh, I just wanted to know if it's a separate country, Mom. And I was like, God. And I just gave him like a full-on classroom lecture about it. So here it is, recorded for posterity. Okay. I'm going to go do my grocery shopping now. Thank you for listening. Bye.